Welcome to episode 2 of the Fight for 15-Minute podcast. My name is Michael Conti, and in today's episode, we talk about empowering parents to positively impact their child's development.
Hello, everyone. This is Dr. Chen, your co-host. And in today's episode, we're going to talk about empowerment. Our last episode, we talked about parent, why we focus so much on parent training. And today, we're going to focus on what does the empowerment mean and what does the empowered parent look like? Now, Michael, when people say the word empowerment, I'm curious, like what comes to your mind when people talk about empowerment?
So let's redefine things, right? So let's start with a good definition. The definition I got from Google is the process of becoming stronger and
Mhm.
more confident, especially in controlling one's life and claiming one's right. So, how would I extract that? Meaning, you have the feeling or the actual truth of having some control and or accountability of your environment. We all don't control all of our environment, but empowerment means we have some capability to control more and more of it consistently, is my interpretation of the definition.
And which is very hard for some parents. I think like if we have picture a child with severe self-injurious behavior, a child cry for 2 hours nonstop, a child was want something the parent did not have in a grocery store right now, we become like a major behavior episode. And you talk about have control of the environment in this situation. I think many parents struggle with that control. And like, what do you do, right? Like, that's a question everyone, I thought many parents are wondering. How can I become empowered when I don't even have time to go out, have a date night with my husband? I can't tell you how many times I would say, maybe you should have a date night. Maybe think about self-care, like plan a night and then spend the time with your husband, have a date night. And parents, mom would just laugh at the idea. Like how
Mhm.
absurd that is. And I have so much going on. I try to figure out and I don't have time for what you suggested. I think that's the idea of, when I think about empowerment, that you talk about have control of the environment. And many parents just simply don't.
Mhm. And, kids, whether special needs or not, are not routine. They're routine averse. And so, by all means, there will not be 6 o'clock we do this, 7 o'clock we do this, and at this
Mhm.
full flow. But I guess what we're trying to establish is what can we do? It's yes, that your child is having a blow up right in the middle of the Walmart, but what is possible? And I think that's whether it's the power of reflection and understanding how to slow things down just for you and your thoughts, and really having just really simple plans so that when your child does flop in the middle of Walmart, you kind of have an idea of what plan A and plan B is. I think starts to build the sense of empowerment and that kind of feeling that at least I have something to do and not feel helpless in the situation.
I think that's the key, right? Like have a plan. When we used to map out the act out cycle,
Mhm.
when the behavior start to become a little bit more intense and then it escalate and then it's out of control and then your child calm down and if you don't have a plan, you would feel not empowered because you basically kind of have done this so many times and seen your child doing the same behavior over and over again. But if you know what to do at a different stage, the child start to escalate and then the child get more intense. And if you know exactly what to do to bring the child back and bring back to that kind of we call it green zone, the calm stage, you would be empowered because you have a plan and you know when A happen, you do B, when C happen, you do D.
Yes. So it's almost kind of an informal protocol. And so I think, and we'll use the Walmart example because that does happen to lots of folks, right? Kid decides that Walmart's a time that they want to, kind of show out. So the first step to me always is biology, meaning from your standpoint, when your blood pressure is rising, when your breath gets short, it's going to be hard to be a good decision maker. So the first step is to probably take 1 to 3 slow, deep breaths. You have enough time to do that will allow you to really think about your process versus just reacting. So the couple of deep breaths helps you to respond versus react. In reaction, we're already behind the 8 ball, and now we're just trying to do the fastest things possible and take shortcuts. Responding allows us to at least have thought into what to do next. So my child flops to the floor, and take a deep breath, ignore the people. People in Walmart are nutty anyway, so ignore them. And then you start to think about plan A, and really plan A is first observing. Do you know why they flopped? Is it because you just passed the cookie aisle and they wanted a cookie? And so it allows you to kind of do that mental thought. Okay, first, can the kid have the cookie or not? If they're able to have it, then maybe you can negotiate compromise. If you know they're not able to have it, or let's say they want, an $800 something in Walmart that you can't give them, then at least you want to kind of know what is available to you. It's kind of, okay, yes, this way or no. And now it puts you in more control of what to do next. You might decide, I'm just going to wait out the child. Plan A is, all
Mm.
right, I'm just going to wait. I'm just going to stand there. I'm going to breathe. And as soon as they calm down, then we'll go. Or plan B is, I'll ask them to stand up, not 100 times in a row, but I'll ask and then I'll wait 30 seconds to a minute. Then I'll politely ask again, seeing if I can get the kid to calm down. I think those are the ways that you work on the responding piece versus kind of I call it the panic, right? You start looking to your purse and start just grabbing things and hoping, which ultimately we don't learn how to improve next time we're in the process. And I guess that final piece is that reflection, which is really difficult once you're in the stuff, right? Finally, your kid's up, you get out of Walmart, you get in the car. Whether it's in that car, if you have a minute or two while you're playing music for the kid and the kid's calm, it's good to kind of evaluate, how did it go? What did you learn from what took place? And I think it's hard to take the emotions that you're feeling, because sometimes your emotions are high, and whether it's embarrassment, but trying to extract what went well and what did you learn. I think that's kind of a missing component to empower you. So there's always lemonade to be had, even when things don't go your way. It's just remembering the process of how you turn it around, I think, is key.
And the responding piece is it conveys confidence. I can picture a parent who has resources and who has talked to a BCBA and talked to other parents who have experienced the same thing. And then the parent has a written plan or have a plan that she knows what to do given that situation. That's confidence. That's what empowered parent looks like. It's not scattered. It's not panicking. It's not like, oh my gosh, what other people would be thinking of me. That's the least important question.
Mhm. Yes, and really what we're talking about is emotions, and it is natural, right? It's natural to feel panic. It's almost like, when you're learning how to swim. I think it's a great analogy, right? It's when you get in the water, it's just kind of this panic, and you're just going about, thrashing about so much that you're actually burning more energy, and most importantly, you're not swimming. The difference, or what an empowered parent looks like, they start to learn how to swim. You start to navigate that. Yes, my child will have some behavior, but I can work around it. I have the tools. I worked on my breathing, with this swimming analogy. I have some strokes, which I have a plan, right? I have a plan on how I'm going to use my arms. I have a plan on how I'm going to use my feet. And then most importantly, when I think of the swimming analogy, you just get comfortable in the water. And I do think it is challenging just to have kids in general, because they are unpredictable.
Right.
Sometimes you don't know why they flopped on the floor. You turn around, they're crying, they're on the floor. But I think just being able to be comfortable in the environment and as calm as possible, your energy doesn't solve the situation, but it does really help to bring the child down, versus your heart rate goes up, the kid's heart rate goes up, and before you know it, it just becomes this, anxious fest. And that anxious energy really makes it harder for every person to calm down. I think that's an empowered parent that starts to learn how to swim and navigate no matter what waters happens while they're interacting with their child.
And when a parent have a child with a challenging behavior, when you have a wait list, where can they go to get the plan? Or even, start thinking about the plan and have someone they can trust and help them to map out that plan so that they can become empowered.
So I think it's picking on the most important things that the child and the family need. So we always start with biology. So really making sure as best as possible, the best practice for nutrition. A lot of
Mhm.
these kids just really don't like to try anything green or nutritious, kids in general, but making sure that they are getting enough proper supplements, eating well, making sure they're getting enough physical exercise. A lot of these kids just have so much energy, and part of the reasons there's lots of behavior, it's just, there's so much energy, they don't play outside as much. And so really having your thoughts on what you want biological, sleep, nutrition, fitness, and
Right.
the fourth one, stress management. What I like about this, these are not just goals for your child, these are also for you to kind of work on in conjunction, because that's
Mhm.
what sets the environment for more empowerment. So biology is probably the first piece. Then for lots of kiddos, it's just really communication and understanding how do you want to improve the communication of your child, whether verbal or nonverbal. Communication is something we always need to work on. So if your child is nonverbal, you can still use whether it's something as simple as eye contact or just one simple sign, even if you make up a sign that you and your child know well. So that's where you can talk to providers, you can look for resources online, but having some understanding of biology, having some understanding of what the current communication plan is, even if it's just the simplest way on how you plan to communicate. And then the third one is probably just behavior management.
Mhm.
If my child flops, here's my normal plan A and here's my plan B. You don't even need plan D, E, or F. Just have plan A and B, understand that so that you're aware of it and your family, I think helps you to at least have enough guide rails to build that confidence, which of course leads to better empowerment.
I also have parents write down the scenario and then write down how they responded and what changes they will make. So picture you have like simple Word document, right? Like you will have, on this date we went to Walmart and kind of just provide a scenario of what happened and then what you did. So I think a lot of times it's really easier for us to remember what you did during that situation than simple behavior techniques, which are can be a little bit dry.
Yes. And so I think that power of reflection, whether it's in the car or as soon as you get home while it's still fresh, once the emotions are kind of gone away, is the lemonade that you get to extract from that situation. Because sometimes, the emotions get the best of us. And so we start to get down on ourselves. We get frustrated with the environment. We get frustrated with Walmart. Why did they put the cookies right there at the shopping line? But we don't pick up what we learned and make sure that we build on it. And as humans, we are all practice creatures, meaning the things that we practice more, we will get better at. And so, yes, it's really allowing that space to reflect just enough objectively can really help build more of that confidence.
The attitude of I can make it happen. This is the goal. And if I take one day at a time, I'll make it happen. I felt like so much of the empowerment is the confidence piece that you can make it happen. And you got to know where to find resources, where to find people who can help you.
Yes. And small wins.
That's right.
Right?
Mhm.
It's You're not gonna conquer everything while your child's on the floor at Walmart, but find the small win. So let's say you went to Walmart last week and they cried for 7 minutes on the floor, but today they only cried 4 minutes. Well, that's progress. That's almost half the time that they're no longer on the floor. I think it's really extracting the dopamine of the progress is something that we forget. We want perfection. The kid had a perfect scenario, but sometimes it's taking a kid that used to cry for 10 minutes to get a cookie, that only now cries for 3 minutes to get a cookie, and actually be happy of that level of progress. So that motivation that you get really does empower you to know that whatever we're doing, plan A or plan B, we're seeing the effects. We just need more time for it to play out. So yeah, really finding the small wins in that reflection piece at the end of days, I think can really help empower you that you're not just guessing, but you're actually going in the right direction, which I think a lot of parents and caregivers are seeking.
Both of us have worked with many parents, and you have done this for over 20 years. Like if we think about empowered parent, could you give us like example of what that parent may look like? What like is there any specific person that come to your mind, given that working with so many parents over the past 20 years?
So some of the traits of the empowered parent, I think they're able to, because they start to understand first themselves, because it's you have to understand where your strengths are. So they understand what they're actually good at teaching their kiddo. Some people are just naturally better at dealing with behavior. Some are naturally better at doing self-help skills like potty training. So I really think that's kind of the first assessment is really being objective about your strengths and weaknesses, and no parent or no human's good at everything. So I think that's a really good trade of, okay, I'm really good here, but then I know what I need to work on. I think to me is kind of the one of the bigger things that I see, because that then allows them to ask good questions from outside providers, ask good questions to their teachers, to even their family members, because now they can be objective about what's taking place. And so being able to understand your strengths and limitations and then being objective, I would say I had a couple of things to pick from. I think those two traits really put people on the path where they can stay empowered for longer and longer pieces of time.
And also maybe have some like big pictures of, if we're talking about autism, have a big picture of what are the skill side, what are the evidence-based practices, and what would a parent expect during an IEP meeting? If it's a very young child, what do you expect during the early intervention provided by the schools? More knowledge a parent have, more empowered you will feel because you know the right questions to ask and you know the right way to advocate for yourself. I was during a recent IEP meeting, it's 3-year-old, very young child, and the school was talking about occupational therapy services. And then there's a lot of terms, of course, around the table. And one of the team member mentioned about the sensory diet. And mom did not feel she has enough knowledge to ask questions about sensory diet because she thought sensory diet may be something like food. It's a sensory food. So later after the meeting, she chatted with me about like, hey, I was wondering about this thing, but I didn't ask because I was just not quite sure what sensory diet is. Could you explain to me? So that's, I think, it's a good example of knowing kind of the basic knowledge, and we can, that's part of our purpose of our training provided by parent empowerment coaching, is kind of go through with parents the basic things around early intervention, around autism, around language delay, so you have the language you need, the knowledge you need to ask the right question and not feel like almost you don't have enough skills to talk to professionals. Parents have everything they need to talk to a professional. Of all the team members, parents probably are the most skilled person among the team, given how much you know about your child, given how much you have seen in your home environment.
Absolutely. And yes, empowerment is the ability to be comfortable questioning your providers with good clarifying questions. So, as we bring this episode to a close, we want to leave you with a final thought. Parenting or being a caregiver of a child with any special needs is a journey filled with challenges, but also immense rewards. Remember, you are not alone in this journey. We have written a book, Off the Waitlist, A Parent's Guide to Young Children with Disabilities. Take a look at our website to know where to get a copy of this book and explore resources that will assist. Stay empowered, stay informed, and let's continue this conversation together. Until next time.
See you next time.